The strictest bill regulating additive manufacturing so far is in California, and they just had the judicial hearing. Of course, we are talking about California's AB2047, the Firearm Printing Prevention Act. It sets forth a really aggressive timeline. By July 1st, 2027, it requires the California Department of Justice to investigate firearm blueprint detection algorithms and publish performance standards for them. It gets better. By July 1st, 2028, any business selling 3D printers in California must attest that each printer model is equipped with a certified firearm blueprint detection algorithm. And that is the technology that they talk about that would prevent the printer from printing firearm parts.
Wait, what?
By September 1st, 2028, the DOJ must publish and maintain a public list of compliant printer models. And then on March 1st, 2029, only printers on the DOJ's approved list can be sold in the great state of California. This bill makes it a crime, a misdemeanor, and there are civil penalties up to $25,000 per violation for businesses that sell or transfer non-compliant 3D printers. The author of this bill is Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Kahan.
AB 2047 builds on prior legislation to address the newest firearm threat, which is 3D printed weapons. Numerous reports from the Department of Justice and nonprofits have emerged demonstrating the proliferation of this type of firearm. This bill does so by requiring that all 3D printers sold in California are equipped with firearm blocking features, which will prohibit the printing of dangerous gun parts. So this means if you own a 3D printer, it will not allow you to print gun parts through technology that will screen the file you have to print and then ensure that those files are not printed.
She says the printer will screen the file, and sure, that sounds simple if you just don't know how 3D printing works. But G-code is just math. It's instructions like move left, move up, extrude. To screen that, the 3D printer would have to understand the intent of these moves. The bill is like asking a pen to stop you from writing a sentence the government doesn't want you to write. What about others that are supporting California's AB 2047? Surely science is guiding their views.
AB 2047 is an exciting technological solution to the dangerous problem of firearms made with household 3D printers. It's the common sense next step in California's fight against ghost guns. The 3D printed gun crisis is not far away. It's not a future problem. It's happening in California right now.
Right here. Right here is where they are manufacturing fear and lies and just trying to scare people. There's no crisis in California. And if a 3D printer is a firearms factory, then a sewing machine is a sweatshop. They are trying to assert that a 3D printer isn't just a general purpose tool, but an evil firearm making device.
To be clear, there's so much positive creativity and innovation happening as 3D printing becomes more accessible and affordable, and this bill won't stifle or threaten any of that.
Yes, it will. This would kill educational resources and stop it dead in its tracks because this technology is just not possible.
Technology now exists to block the printing of files that have been specifically identified as firearm design instructional files.
You can't fingerprint a 3D file like you could, say, a song. If you change one line of code or one coordinate in the file, it becomes a new thing and that filter just fails. You're asking a 3D printer to analyze in real time geometry and intent, and it just can't do that. You're asking for magic. You're promising a magic filter, which just doesn't exist. Well, let's hear from the chairman on this. Perhaps he's got a voice of reason for all of us.
It's already against the law to use 3D printers to print firearms. There's got to be some meaningful way to actually enforce that law. And by the way, the law has been on the books for over 2 years and hasn't been overturned yet under Second Amendment grounds. In regards to the privacy concerns, I think if there's a substantial public interest, It does allow for limited, legally justified restrictions on privacy rights. I do think there is a substantial public interest, and this is clearly going to be challenged in the courts, and we'll let the courts decide whether we're right or not on that.
Okay. As he said, there's laws that already exist. So this new bill would just make something that's already illegal. It would be illegaler. And privacy rights, he mentions this is going to be a legal gamble. They are willing to pass this broken law and then let the taxpayers pay to battle it out in court. And meanwhile, the maker community is just left in limbo. If all of this sounds really familiar, it could be that you've run across some sort of post or article from Everytown. They've been at the beginning of this, and they show up in mass at these hearings, and that's kind of where this got started. But let's talk about good things like David Tobin, executive producer of 3D Printing Nerd, the executive director of the Community Manufacturing Initiative, David Tobin. He was at the Capitol and sat down during this hearing and spoke in opposition as a technical witness.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is David Tobin. I'm a longtime California resident, and I'm the current executive director of the Community Manufacturing Initiative. CMI is a core partner in Experiential, a global innovation network alongside DECA, WPI, Cornell University, MIT, the National Science Foundation, First Robotics, and many, many more. In addition, I'm also the executive producer of the educational show 3D Printing Nerd, where I've spent the last 6 years traveling the planet working with every single company in this industry. Today, I'm here representing the $10.5 billion already invested in education and infrastructure in the state of California. We're here to address the 12 technical impossibilities and 12 First Amendment violations that make AB 2047 a fundamental failure. In my hands are the physical targets of this bill. This is the XRP robotics kit used by students across the globe. And over here, we have a 3D printed eyeball from the Mayo Clinic.
Look what David's holding. He's holding one of these, an XRP robotics kit and a 3D printed eyeball from the Mayo Clinic. And an algorithm really doesn't know intent. It doesn't know the difference between this and a firearm part. By mandating software that doesn't exist, you're creating an accidental ban on innovation.
The AB 2047 mandates blocking software that defies the laws of physics. 3D printers read G code, numerical coordinates, not shapes. It's a mathematical impossibility for these machines to detect intent. By mandating software gatekeeper that does not exist, you're decommissioning the tools by our schools and over 30,000 California businesses overnight. As a Californian, I'm deeply concerned that this bill creates a constitutional minefield for our state. Following the Ninth Circuit precedent of Bernstein versus Department of Justice, code is protected speech. This bill establishes prior restraints and content-based restrictions that will trigger immediate multi-front litigation. You're asking manufacturers to perform a technical miracle under the threat of absolute liability. This is not regulation. It's an accidental ban on California's innovation economy. Don't break the tools of the next generation of our California engineers because of a misunderstanding of the technology. We urge the committee to hold this bill. I provided a full analysis of these 24 specific failures in the packets that you have, and I'm available for your questions.
Heck yeah, David is hitting the core issue, coordinates versus shapes. Manufacturers are being asked to perform a technical miracle while under the threat of absolute liability. We don't have this technology, and forcing companies to invent this under the threat of a $25,000 fine, that's madness. David wasn't the only one there to support the opposition of this bill. Cliff Braun was there from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF. We also had people from our community, the maker community there.
Ann Pauley, Oakland-based mechanical engineer, 3D printing expert with a decade of experience in Silicon Valley manufacturing, strongly opposing for technical impossibility and IP security breach risk.
Steve Peterson, part of the Voron design team in the wider open source 3D printer community, and strongly opposed.
Morning, my name is Nico Mendoza. I'm the CEO of Nico Industries, former Air Force veteran, also Air Force civil engineer. I strongly oppose it. Maybe we should rework the bill.
The vote was 9-3 in favor of passing it out of this hearing. So the no votes. Alexandra Macedo, Diane Dixon, and Kate Sanchez were the 3 opposing votes, while the remaining assembly members, they voted for it. The author of this bill is Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Kahan. But let's talk about the First Amendment here in the United States. It's been proven legally that source code is free speech. By requiring a government-approved filter on your software, that's what's known as prior restraint. If they can force a filter on your 3D printer today, what's to say they can't force a filter on other aspects of your life or other tools that you use? This bill has real consequences. Misunderstanding the technology leads to massive, massive issues for education. The impact on California will be massive. Over 1.5 million kids every day use 3D printing to further their education. And if this bill passes, that just gets decimated. The supporters of this bill really remind me of Walter Peck in the Ghostbusters film. He didn't understand the science. He was just thinking what he was doing was going to make the city safer.
You're facing federal prosecution for at least 6 environmental violations.
So he shut down the containment system, which, as you know, spoiler alert, it invited a bunch of ghosts into the city. These people in support of the bill, they have safety in mind. They think they're making things safer, but they're just inviting a disaster for the education system. The science of it is simple. 3D printing is additive manufacturing. It is a process of physical geometry built through mathematical instructions. You cannot regulate intent in a text file. Okay, the vote was 9-3 for AB 2047. It made it out of this hearing. What are the next steps? It looks like, so after passing the Judiciary Committee, the bill now heads to the Assembly Appropriations Committee, since the bill creates new state agency requirements, like the Department of Justice certifying algorithms and maintaining lists. It has significant fiscal impacts. The committee will analyze the costs and decide if that then moves forward. And this is where magic software meets budget reality. So between now and then, I invite you to reach out to the author of this bill, Rebecca Bauer-Kahan. Let her know that the financial and educational costs of this is just too high. And of course, we'll keep you posted as this moves to its next stage. I want to leave you with this. Education is how we win. The bills like this get this far because of a vacuum of knowledge. And it is our job to fill that vacuum with facts. Knowledge isn't enough. Shouting facts at a camera isn't enough. Showing up is how we do this. David, Ann, Steve, Nico, they all showed up. Now you should too. Be professional, be technical, but let your passion fly. Tell them about the students and education and how this bill will set us back. I know that was a lot. But we got through this. It's just important to remember that knowledge is power and showing up is key. And there's lots of resources in the description to hopefully get you started. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you're awesome. Don't forget to hug each other more. Fight for cause you believe in. Print all the things. And as always, high five.